We are here with Elizabeth Lewis. She is the CEO and founder of Brand Style and Bloom by Elizabeth Daniel. Thank you so much for being here and taking a part of Podcast Row today.
My pleasure. I'm really happy to be here.
Now, you have an interesting story of entrepreneurship. Before we do that, tell us a little bit about you and who you are.
Yeah, definitely. So as you mentioned, I'm the CEO and founder of Brand Style and Bloom. And I always am fascinated about how things just kind of come full circle in life.
Okay.
So when I was little, I was obsessed with fashion.
Okay.
I would always try on my mom's clothes, pretending I was going to cocktail parties. I made shoes out of construction paper, and I actually tried to walk in them, and that was not a good
work
idea.
out well. Yeah.
But those are kind of the ways that I would express myself. So I always thought I wanted to do something in fashion, and I took a fashion design class in college.
Yeah.
At Washington University in St. Louis. And
are you from St. Louis?
Not originally. Originally, I'm from the South. And I say that because I moved around to a lot of different places within the South because my dad's job moved us around a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when I took this fashion design class, I found out I wasn't very good at it. There was just something about like making the patterns and the sewing, and I just wasn't there.
So the actual development of fashion, not so much the styling side. Okay, all right.
Exactly. Not so much the styling side. So for some reason, that's really the only path I thought I could do in fashion. So I decided to pursue some other creative things. I've always been a little bit of a Renaissance woman.
Okay.
So my first job out of college was working in book publishing. So that's kind of what brought me to New York City.
All right. Where'd you work for?
I worked at Penguin Random House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know those, a bunch of people over there. We've partnered with a lot of those editors and have guests from their library of authors often. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really cool place to work because there were authors everywhere.
Yeah.
I remember seeing John Grisham as I was going to the ladies' room. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is very, very cool. And then I also spent some time in nonprofits.
Yeah.
I worked at a literacy-focused nonprofit called Read Ahead.
Okay.
And then I went to grad school to get my MBA.
Okay.
Because I knew I loved marketing and kind of the branding aspects, but I wanted to improve my quantitative chops because I didn't do a lot of that in those jobs. So I went to NYU Stern and got a better understanding of that. And then after Stern, I worked at Colgate-Palmolive.
Yeah.
And I was there for 5 years.
Wow.
I was a brand manager. So I worked on brands like Irish Spring, Optic White, Palmolive Dish Liquid, and really just kind of cut my teeth on like what branding is.
Yeah. So I want to ask about that because when you have an established brand that you're coming into, you're not, I don't know how much freedom you actually have in what you do. It's kind of pretty set. So what does that job actually do? And what do you do to help manage the identity that they portray to the world?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, these brands have been around for, 100, 150 years. They've been around for a long time. So really, you're more of the caretaker of the brand.
Okay.
And I think of importance with these sorts of brands is to continue to keep them relevant.
Yeah.
So you do that through, television, commercials, like creative, of course, social media, like developing campaigns that keep them relevant in today's world.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what the job is. It's also about launching new products.
Yeah.
So of course you have those brands, but you're launching products within them.
Yeah.
And just working with a lot of different partners. You have your supply chain folks, your design folks, your legal folks. I mean, it takes a village with these brands.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what the job is. But I found it really fun when I worked in innovation.
Yeah.
Because you're still working under established brands, but you're really starting from the ground up.
So, okay, I love innovation.
Yeah.
Ideas and innovation is part of our passion here at JumbleThink. How do you innovate in a space that, again, brand is defined? Are you bringing new products to the market under that same that same banner, or what does that mean?
Yeah. So sometimes you can bring them to a new banner.
Okay.
The ones that I was working on, and I can't say a lot about them because they're launching in 2020, but they were new products under an existing banner, but done in a very new way.
So, okay, coming from the world of web development, design, and marketing, I think of companies like Toyota who had the Scion brand that kind of was under it. Now they're bringing it back into the brand. They used that as a test, or you look at I'm blanking on the name, Old Spice.
Right.
And a couple years ago, it was kind of one image, and then probably 10 or 15 years ago, they kind of had much more of an edgier kind of more fun feel to it. So is that the kind of innovation you're talking about, is helping them re-personify themselves in the world, or?
Yeah. Well, I think it always goes back to consumer trends.
Okay.
I mean, everything you do has to be focused on the consumer.
Audience is the hero.
The audience is the hero, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are trends that you're seeing in the market?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the beauty space is a great area to look at because people are, constantly innovating within the beauty space. So we would, when I worked on certain brands within toothpaste, we would take our inspiration from what was being done in the beauty space and then kind of ladder that down.
Okay.
So you didn't know that your toothpaste might be inspired by beauty, right?
Nope. Oh, wow. All right. Now, a couple transitions in your life lately.
Yep.
You're
definitely
doing your own thing now.
I am. I'm doing my own thing. It's so exciting.
It's exciting, probably scary.
It's very scary.
So talk to us a little bit about the journey of saying, you know what, this has been good. I make good money doing what I do. It's safe. It's secure.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do something else. I mean, a lot of people think they want to do something else. Not a lot of people choose to actually step out. So what was that process like for you?
Oh my gosh. So for me, just rewinding back a little bit, when I started working at Colgate, to be very transparent, I had only expected to be there for a couple of years.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It was always my goal to launch my own business, but I wasn't planning to do that until probably my 40s. I'm 33 now.
Yeah.
So I was going to work at Colgate for a couple of years, then I was going to work at a fashion corporation for a few years, and then I was going to launch my own business focused on personal branding and personal styling.
All right.
But I wound up being moved around so much within Colgate, working at different brands and different projects, and I was feeling stimulated. So I ended up staying there for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for me, I still had this passion burning inside of me.
Yeah.
And it was getting to the point where I knew I wanted to make a change. But the question I was asking myself was, Elizabeth, do you want to go down this path of, going to the fashion corporation and doing that and, continuing to make the money and stuff, but kind of learning more? Or is it time to take the leap?
Yeah.
And
why would you want to go out on your own?
Yeah. So I decided to take the leap because, first of all, I started putting the bones of my business together probably a couple years ago.
So
right?
This is something that you've envisioned and dreamed
Something-
about for
yes.
a while. It's not
Yes.
something that one day you just went,
I woke
I'm
up and I
done.
said, I'm done, and
I'm
I'm
out.
leaping off a bridge. No. No, it's definitely something I gave some thought to. And I had some test clients just to make sure that my idea was viable and actually helped someone.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that what I was doing and my mission actually came true for people.
Yeah.
So I did test in that way. I started saving some money. I took like a personal styling course just to kind of like get the basics. I got a certification from this place called the School of Style.
Oh.
So I started putting those bones together.
Yeah.
But for me, of course, making consistent, regular money, it matters, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Especially
really,
if you're going to live in New York City.
especially in New York City. It is not cheap here.
No.
So for me, it was just really deciding and having that conviction in my idea, knowing that I had prepared ahead of time, and then knowing, you know what, like, I don't know what the future holds for me. Right now, I don't have any kids, right? I hope to have kids someday, but at this point in time, the only person who I'm supporting is myself.
Yeah.
So why not now?
Yeah. It's best time.
Why not now? So I started talking to people. I'm like, guys, am I crazy? Like, this is just such a big risk. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I actually had a lot of people supporting me.
Wow.
That was the crazy thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, of course you would do something like this.
Yeah.
Of course this type of business is something that you would do and be passionate about. Like, we see this in you every day.
Yeah.
And even my parents were supportive. And my parents are very cautious. And it's funny. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like, you always kind of seek that sign of approval.
Yeah,
from
affirmation from
exactly,
those around you.
That affirmation. So I did have a couple people saying, well, maybe you should work a little bit longer. But, I had a lot of positivity and I had conviction within myself and in my idea. So that's how I got here.
Wow. Crazy. How far are you into the idea?
Yeah, so I officially launched 3 months ago.
Okay, so you're pretty fresh and new.
It's pretty fresh and new.
Yeah.
So I'm learning new things every day. I mean, a lot of this is about sales. Of course I have my broader mission of what I want to achieve and what I want to help people do.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to sell to get there and be able to help people understand like how they're going to get there with you, walking with them on their journey. So I took a sales workshop last week. It was an 8-hour workshop at this wonderful co-working place called Luminary.
Okay.
And I just really learned the basics behind sales.
Wow.
But every day I'm learning. And I found so many great opportunities just because they're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah. I have a good friend who owns a carpet cleaning company. And he always says, I'm a marketing company that happens to market a service of carpet cleaning. So he, even in his own business, thinks about we're marketing first, because if we're not selling, then no one's going to use our product and service. Then we're not actually doing what we're supposed to do. So
right.
It's a different way to approach it. It sounds like that's kind of the thing you're looking at right now. It's like, how do I position myself? How do I get in front of the right people to bring the services that I know will impact their life?
Right, exactly.
We're going to take a break right here. And when we get back with Elizabeth, we're actually going to talk about what is it that we're teasing out? What is it that she is doing and how can it impact you? Cool. How you doing?
Doing great.
Cool.
This is fun.
Awesome.
Any feedback?
What's that?
Any feedback? Anything?
No, you're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just doing some math and stuff and figuring all that out as we were going along. Just what time we needed to finish at and all that. So if you saw me scribbling, that's what I was doing.
Amazing how you do all that live.
Trying to figure out segment breaks and all of that.
That's really cool.
We are back with Elizabeth Lewis. Elizabeth, significant question. How can people find you?
Oh, man, let me tell you. Okay, so 2 ways. You can go to my website.
Yeah.
So my website is www.brandstylebloom.com. Go to the Let's Talk tab, slip me a note, and I would love to chat with you, get to know you.
Yeah.
The other way is through Instagram. So that's at brand_style_bloom. I hate having those underscores, but I had to do it. Instagram made me. But that's how you can reach me.
Awesome. We'll put those links in the episode notes. So wherever you're listening, head on over to JumbleThink.com, or if you're in Apple Podcasts, wherever, scrolling down, the links will be there. Click on them. Go check this out. All right. We've talked about that you've launched a company called Brand Style and Bloom by Elizabeth Daniel. That's your middle name you were sharing.
Yes. You want to know how I got that middle name?
Yeah.
I'll just share that story real quick. So my mom, when she was pregnant with me, she always read Danielle Steele stories.
Okay.
So it was just funny because when I worked at Penguin Random House, Danielle Steele was one of the authors. So again, it's just things coming full circle in life.
Yeah, that's super, super cool. What do you do?
Okay, so through my business, I help you discover what your personal brand is.
Okay, I want to pause you there. As a person that lives in the space of podcasting and the broader sense of the circles that I swim in, we talk about personal brand all the time. But a lot of business owners, they go, I'm building a brand. That's not a personal brand. And along the way, I think that there's this combining this, the flow of togetherness of business brand and personal brand, especially with founders taking so much more of a forefront, not just being a visionary, not just being an executive running the business. They are going much deeper into being the face of that business too. So talk to us about what personal brand looks like.
Yeah. So a personal brand is your unique story.
Okay.
And I want to emphasize your unique story because it is your story. It is about you, right? Your unique story that's told in a credible, consistent way that meets your goals. That's really what your personal brand is.
So one of the other spaces in the creator space that we talk about a lot is persona versus the actual person behind the brand. So how do you reconcile that persona versus the genuine, authentic person?
Yeah. I think that personal brands have to be authentic because if they're not authentic, people can sniff that, right?
All right, yeah.
And it's not going to feel natural to you either. You're going to always feel like you're stepping into somebody else's shoes. So you really have to be authentic to yourself.
Okay. Now, that's the first part of the business. Brand style for personal brands. So talk to us a little bit more about that. What does that look like? How does that unfold for you and what you do for your customers?
Yeah, definitely. So the very first thing that we do together is the personal branding work because that's really where everything starts.
Yeah.
So how I do the personal brand work is actually through a vision boarding workshop.
Yeah.
I think vision boards are amazing because they're very simple yet very powerful.
Yeah.
In the imagery and then the stories that are behind them. So I sit with my clients, I give them like a giant stack of magazines. It can be, National Geographic for travel, it's fashion magazines, it's men's magazines, maybe a bourbon magazine, like just kind of runs the gamut across topics, right? And then the only prompt that I give my clients is, what does your dream life look like? That's the only prompt I give. And then they go through those magazines and they choose images. They can choose colors. They can choose words that match that vision of where they want to be, right?
So do you find for a lot of people, I know for me, when I sit down with a person, ideas and dreams always start with identity. Who you are impacts what you do.
Right, right.
And for a lot of people, they seem to struggle with figuring that out. Does this exercise, do you seem to think that, or in your experience working with people, does it seem to be easy for them to do this? Or does it seem to be a struggle where they're like trying to be like, I just don't know?
I think that the first few minutes, it's a little bit of a struggle because they're used to just having these handcuffs around them, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I have the prompt be so broad.
Yeah.
Is because I don't want them to have those handcuffs. This is a visual exercise for a reason.
Yeah.
Is because we can't always articulate certain things, but they're in our subconscious, they're in our desires, they're in our goals that are inward, right?
Yeah.
So that's why this is so powerful. So then once they choose all of those images, I have them walk me through why they chose the images.
Okay.
And that's really where the magic happens, is because when they describe certain things, I notice themes in what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
So some examples. One of my clients, her 3 words were fierce, dynamic, and playful.
Okay.
So she had images of, it could be colors, it could be lots of reds, it could be certain poses that people had, it could be photos that depicted, these areas of play that she wanted in her life.
Okay.
But we never would have gotten there had she not walked me through why she chose the images.
Yeah.
So that's really where that happens.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful because it marries who you are as a person to where you want to go in life.
Yeah.
So you have a brand that it kind of encompasses all of that.
Yeah.
So once we have your 3-word personal brand, and I say 3 words because 3 words are easy to remember.
Yeah.
They're easy for you to remember and they're easy for you to incorporate. They're easy for others to remember should you choose to tell them.
Yeah.
So then, based on those 3 words, I do a wardrobe consultation. So I look through your wardrobe, see what you've got in there, and have those 3 words in mind.
Side.
This is the style side.
Okay,
Exactly.
right.
This is the style side.
Yeah.
So we kind of sort the clothes into ones that totally match those 3 words, ones that we're not so sure about. We'll come back to those, and then ones that we just know that we need to get rid of, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So either we just donate them, consign them, or if you have separation anxiety, we can just store them elsewhere, but they will not be in your closet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the final step is the personal styling.
Okay.
So I actually go shopping for people. And again, with those 3 words in mind, choosing pieces that depict their personal brand. Then I bring them to them to try on. And it's so funny. It's like once they see how they look in these clothes, it feels authentic yet powerful to them. You just see their confidence just bloom. They start walking differently. Their whole mannerism changes. And it's just really such a cool transformation to see.
That's crazy. So can you tell us maybe a story of an individual and how this impacted their life?
Yeah, definitely. So this is one of my clients. Again, she's the one who had the 3 words of fierce, dynamic, and playful.
Yeah.
So she had just moved to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new place. She moved there from LA, and LA just has it just has a different vibe, you know?
Oh, I get it. I lived on in the West Coast for 13 years before moving back to the East Coast. So it's completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did kind of the whole workshop for her and got her clothes that, you know, were more bold, were more colorful, were more fitted, and really just spoke to those 3 words that she had. So if someone didn't know her before this whole process, they would think, she doesn't really necessarily have the urgency. She doesn't really have a lot of energy. She's kind of showing up in like very loose fitting things, you know, very bland colors. Like, this stuff matters. These perceptions matter, right?
Well, I in this specific case, here's a person who came from LA to New York. Where does location seems to play into this a little bit too? Because what works in LA or San Francisco,
Right.
like when I worked a lot in Silicon Valley, it was so amazing to see the diversity of style. You'd walk into a room at Apple and there'd be this guy in his 60s with like no shoes, torn up jeans, and a t-shirt who's like one of their lead engineers.
Right.
And then you walk down the hall and you see somebody else like, you know, buttoned down, tucked in, looks very, you know, put together. And yet it worked there. It seems like New York's a little different in that kind of capacity. But do you think that obviously this applies anywhere? But do you think it matters more in specific places or specific roles or specific jobs?
I think you absolutely have to keep the location of where you are in mind and the job. You know, it's a science, but it's also very much an art.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of different things to keep in mind. So when I'm shopping for my clients or going through their wardrobe, I have their brand in mind, but I also, of course, have their career, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So she worked in marketing. She also worked in brand management.
Okay.
So for her, brand management is going to have a different kind of look, especially in New York City, that's different from someone who works, you know, in the tech industry in LA.
Yeah.
That's a totally different style. Now, I do believe that someone who works in the tech industry in LA, I mean, there's a look there, but you can still have your own personal style.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, we saw Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
You know, he always had the jeans and the black shirt on.
Yeah.
Like, that was his signature look. So you can still have a signature look where people identify you.
Yeah.
But in this person's particular case, you know, that was the industry that she was in. So she did need to have kind of a more buttoned up, kind of like put together look. Yeah. So all of that was incorporated. So by the end of the process, you know, I saw her. She sent me pictures of her doing presentation. She sent me pictures of her at different events, and just her whole look and mannerism and the confidence in herself had changed. So really the main thing that people get from this, yes, you get the personal brand, yes, you get the styling, but the biggest thing that you get is the confidence within yourself.
Yeah, which is massive.
It is massive, and it affects everything that you do.
Yeah, if you walk into a meeting feeling comfortable with how you look and how you feel in your clothes, that's going to make it much easier to focus on what matters in that meeting.
Yes.
Instead of focusing on like, oh, do they like how I look?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm going to do something a little dangerous here.
Ooh, let's go.
All right. I hope I don't shoot myself in the foot for what I'm about to do, but looking at me, based on how I'm dressed, what does it communicate to you?
Well,
or is
definitely
that not
someone. Look, I mean, I'll
this
tell
is gonna.
you.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm getting from you is someone who's very approachable.
Okay.
That would be through, of course, your whole demeanor. You know, I've had the pleasure of being able to speak to you for a little while, but just like the colors of your clothing, you're wearing very neutral colors.
Yeah.
So those neutral colors tell me that you're a very approachable person, but you also have some pops of light blue in there.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit of vibrancy. Personality, loose fitting clothing. So again, that kind of points to the approachability aspect, someone who's relaxed. But the blue tells me like you're paying attention, you're concentrating, like there's something there.
Yeah, cool. I hope.
Do you regret that?
No, not at all. I'm like, you're being incredibly kind. You're a slob. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll come to one of my workshops, you know, we'll work further, but no, it's in a good spot right now.
I want to know, you talk about personal brand and personal style, and the marriage of those. You start with these storyboards, if you will, or what was the word?
The vision boards.
Vision boards. Thank you. You start with those, and you use that as a launching pad into the style.
Yes.
How does this then change how they think about maybe how they appear or show up in their job or approach it? Because changing clothes is an external thing, but this seems to change more than just that.
Yes.
So how does that change impact how they approach maybe their business job and how they view themselves and how they then can present themselves past the clothes in the positions and places that they have to work in?
Right. So, again, I really think it goes back to confidence. That's really the main kind of transformation piece, is the confidence. So when you have more confidence, you're able to approach the goals that you have with more vibrancy, more energy, more of a direction. The vision board is also great because it shows you a picture of how you want your life to be, right?
I want to pause you there because that's a really good distinction, where you want to be. Now, for some people, they're willing to make the full jump. They're like, I'm all in. Take me to the other side. Get me out of the dark place.
Right.
For other people, they're going to be like, this is very personal, very painful process because maybe they have wounding in their life, or they have bad self-image because they... you can go both sides of the spectrum. Maybe they think that they weigh too much, or maybe they don't think they're thin enough and they have an eating disorder or something like that that's impacting that. And so there's a lot of self-perspective that goes into this. So for some people, they might not be willing to jump quickly.
Right.
So how do you walk them through that? Because you almost have to parent them in a way, love them well through a process that could be very personal and very hard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's really about listening. I mean, everyone's starting from a different place. And actually, even before the branding, we just kind of do a one-on-one consultation where I send them just different questions about where they are in their lives. Why is this something that they want to do at this point? Because they are choosing to do it. They do see some benefit to doing it. So I kind of know like where they're starting. And then through there, I can see, okay, were there past pains or things like that we need to talk through to be able to get to the next step. So even if it's just one step change and not like a total transformation, you're still getting further than where you were, right? And then the brand that you have, yes, it's your brand, but it's also a bridge. It's a bridge to get where you want to go. This is where you are in your present moment. This is the brand that can help you get there, but it's also you. So it doesn't have to be completely jumping off, even if it's just one kind of like evolution instead of a revolution. We've still gotten further than where we were. And quite frankly, a lot of the times I'm a neutral party, right? So I think it helps, it's very personal when they share the images with me of where they want to go, because I'm just a person who's listening to them, who can help them. I'm not necessarily someone who knows them deeply, who they might be concerned with sharing these things with. I'm a neutral party. Like their concerns, their past pain is very safe with me. So we have that personal connection, that relationship building, which helps with the trust, which helps with the entire process.
As we wrap up this segment, I always like to know how you're finding purpose in what you do.
Oh my gosh, the whole mission for me of doing this is watching that transformation within people. That really is my mission, helping them to reveal the best versions of themselves. So again, it always goes back to confidence. When I see that confidence, I know that we've done something important together.
Super cool. We're going to take a break right here in a moment. We're going to be back for rapid fire questions.
Ooh.
Cool. How you doing?
I'm excited. This
Good.
is fun.
Good. I'm glad.
It's my second podcast ever.
Well, you seem like a pro. You're doing
really?
well.
Okay, good.
Rapid fire questions. We're just going to ask a series of a few questions. They're a little bit broader.
Let's go.
We are back with Elizabeth Lewis. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right. First question is, what is one trend you're currently excited about?
Oh my gosh. So I'm really excited about this trend of moody florals that I've been seeing.
Okay. Is that a fashion trend?
It is a fashion trend.
All right.
I also look at fashion trends.
Yeah.
Personal style is, of course, personal, and it shouldn't change a lot, but I think it's fun to incorporate trends every now and then.
So it's a floral print kind of style?
It's florals, but kind of like dark florals.
Oh.
So we always see florals in this very bright, vibrant way.
Very
it's just
happy.
another take on like this happy trend.
Okay. All right. What is one book you think every dreamer or entrepreneur should read?
Oh my goodness. I read a memoir by Donna Karan, and again, I always seem to take it back to fashion.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But it was just wonderful kind of hearing about her whole story of how she built this amazing empire.
Yeah.
And then what she's doing now with Urban Zen, just kind of taking it to a different place. It's more about tranquility and peace, but still being able to inject her style philosophies into it.
If you weren't working in the space that you work in, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think that I would be a musician.
Okay.
I'm a flute player, and I also love to sing.
Okay.
And I also play in the subways of New York City through the MTA's Music Under New York program. So you could see me there.
Are you going to be playing anytime soon?
I am going to be playing in the next few weeks, and I'm happy to pass that on if anyone wants to see me in the subways.
Nice. That's super cool. I want to know what inspires you. So what inspires you?
I have to say that nature is my biggest source of inspiration.
Okay.
I'm lucky to only live a few blocks away from Central Park. So a lot of my mornings, I just go there and get my exercise and breathe in the fresh air, which actually exists in New York City.
Yeah. What is one habit that's helpful in your life as an entrepreneur?
I have to say being very conscientious about keeping a good mindset.
Okay.
And nature, again, is a way that I keep myself in a positive space, which is crucial as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And our final rapid fire question. If you had, well, let me back up and say it this way. What is one dream you're still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
I would love to be able to travel to Thailand. I really love all of the varied kind of nature, again, the rainforests of Thailand, and of course the history. So that's definitely something that I want to do in the next maybe 5 years.
Nice. I think you'll love it. I've been to Thailand. That was my first international trip.
Oh, wow.
And it was a lot of fun.
I have to get tips from you.
Well, hopefully they're good. I mean, it was 20 years ago, so who knows what it's like now. Anyway, I always like to leave our guests have a final thought. So what's your final thought for us today?
My final thought would be to do your own vision board. It's always great to just sit down and put your dreams on paper, because when you look at them every day, I really believe that they can be manifested into your life. Very, very cool. Elizabeth, it's been a lot of fun to have you on. Thanks for taking time out to come to Podcast Row and be a part of our show. My pleasure. It was really fun.